Have you ever noticed that sometimes your mind creates entire scenes, conversations, conflicts, dramatic endings, which never actually happen in real life? This habit seems harmless, but it may be draining your energy, increasing your anxiety, and shaping decisions you don't even realize you're making. In today's video, you will understand why does the brain insist on imagining unrealistic scenarios, what this reveals about their personality, and most importantly, how to break this silent cycle that traps so many people without them even realizing it. So, already subscribe to the channel now because this content can change the way you deal with your own thoughts. And stay until the end because the last part reveals something that almost no one realizes about this habit. And when you understand it, you can no longer ignore what your mind does to you every day. There is something profoundly human about getting lost in the corridors of imagination, creating elaborate scenarios that will never materialize in the concrete reality of our lives. It is a silent phenomenon, almost invisible to the eyes of others, but extraordinarily present in the intimate experience of countless people around the world. This peculiar habit of constructing fictional narratives about our own future, about conversations we will never have, about confrontations that will never happen, about successes that will remain eternally in the realm of the hypothetical, reveals fascinating layers about the nature of human consciousness and our complex relationship with time, reality, and ourselves. When we wake up in the morning and find ourselves imagining a heated argument with someone who offended us weeks ago, reconstructing perfect arguments we should have used, we are exercising an extraordinary mental capacity. Our brain is capable of simulating alternative realities with impressive detail, creating complete dialogues, gestures, facial expressions, voice intonations, and even the emotional reactions we would experience in these imaginary situations. It's as if there were a theater permanently installed in our minds, where we are simultaneously the screenwriter, the director, all the actors, and the audience of a play that will never be staged on the stage of real life. This peculiar habit of constructing fictional narratives about our own future, about conversations we will never have, about confrontations that will never happen, about successes that will remain eternally in the realm of the hypothetical, reveals fascinating layers about the nature of human consciousness and our complex relationship with time, reality, and ourselves. When we wake up in the morning and find ourselves imagining a heated argument with someone who offended us weeks ago, reconstructing perfect arguments we should have used, we are exercising an extraordinary mental capacity. Our brain is capable of simulating alternative realities with impressive detail, creating complete dialogues, gestures, facial expressions, voice intonations, and even the emotional reactions we would experience in these imaginary situations. It's as if there were a theater permanently installed in our minds, where we are simultaneously the screenwriter, the director, all the actors, and the audience of a play that will never be staged on the stage of real life. This tendency usually begins in childhood, when we are still developing our understanding of how the world works and how we fit into it. Children often play pretend, taking on different roles, imagining themselves as heroes, adventurers, powerful or important characters. This imaginative capacity is seen as healthy and even encouraged by parents and educators, as it represents cognitive and emotional development. However, as we age, the same capacity takes on different contours, becoming less about innocent play and more about mental rehearsal, psychological preparation, or in some cases, emotional escape. During adolescence and youth, mental fantasies often revolve around social scenarios. We imagine what it would be like to ask someone out, how that special person would react, what we would say, how we would feel. We create idealized versions of future events, parties where we would be the center of attention, moments of academic or sporting glory, public recognition for some extraordinary achievement. These daydreams serve multiple psychological purposes. They allow us to emotionally experience situations before they happen, preparing us for real possibilities. They offer us emotional comfort when present reality is unsatisfactory or painful, and they help us build and maintain our identity, our sense of who we are and who we would like to be. As adult life settles in, imagined situations often become more complex and paradoxically more mundane. We imagine difficult conversations with bosses, confrontations with coworkers, ways to ask for a raise or promotion. We mentally rehearse how we would say no to unwanted commitments, how we would set boundaries with intrusive family members, how we would defend our opinions in important meetings. There is something simultaneously productive and frustrating about this mental exercise. On one hand, it can actually prepare us for challenging interactions, helping us organize our thoughts and anticipate obstacles. On the other hand, we consume significant emotional energy experiencing events that may never occur, or if they do, will unfold in completely different ways than imagined. One particularly intriguing aspect of this phenomenon is how our minds tend to create extreme versions of future situations. We rarely imagine average or ordinary scenarios. Instead, we oscillate between grandiose fantasies of absolute success and anxious nightmares of catastrophic failure. We imagine winning the lottery and how we would spend every penny, or we visualize losing everything and ending up in situations of utter helplessness. We imagine perfect romantic encounters that end in marriage and eternal happiness, or humiliating rejections that scar us forever. This tendency to extremes reveals something about how we process uncertainty and risk. Our brains, developed in ancestral environments where assessing threats and opportunities was a matter of survival, remain hyperactive in this function even when facing far less dramatic situations. There is also a profoundly emotional dimension to this habit. When we imagine situations that will never happen, we are not merely creating abstract narratives, we are experiencing real emotions. Our bodies respond to imagined thoughts in ways surprisingly similar to how they would respond to real events. Our hearts race when we imagine a tense confrontation. We feel warmth in our faces when we visualize an embarrassing situation. We experience genuine joy when fantasizing about future achievements. This physiological response demonstrates that for our nervous system, the boundary between imagined and real is more permeable than we would like to admit. Many people imagine complete conversations with individuals who are no longer part of their lives. They rehearse what they would say to an ex-partner if they were to meet them by chance on the street, construct elaborate dialogues with deceased parents, and prepare mental speeches for friends with whom they broke ties years ago. These imaginary conversations often serve as a form of emotional processing. When we haven't had the opportunity to say something important, when a relationship ended abruptly, when issues remain unresolved, our minds continue working on these incomplete narratives, trying to find closure through imagination. Some people imagine heroic scenarios, situations in which they could demonstrate extraordinary courage. They fantasize about how they would react to a robbery, how they would save lives in emergencies, how they would behave in natural disasters or crises. These heroic fantasies are not necessarily narcissistic or unrealistic. They represent an exploration of our deepest values and how we would like to behave when tested to the limit. They reveal who we aspire to be, even if the specific circumstances never materialize. The phenomenon also has a significant social dimension. We live in an age of constant comparison where we are bombarded with carefully curated images of other people's lives through social media. This fuels a particular kind of imagination. We imagine alternative versions of our own lives where we would be more successful, more attractive, more interesting. We imagine what it would be like to have that person's career, that other person's relationship, the physical appearance or lifestyle of someone we admire. These comparative fantasies can be motivating, inspiring us to make positive changes, but they can also be deeply corrosive, fueling chronic dissatisfaction with our present reality. Some people imagine scenarios of revenge. When they've been wronged, humiliated, or hurt, they create elaborate mental scenarios where they obtain retribution, where the people who hurt them finally acknowledge their mistakes, where justice prevails satisfactorily.
These vengeful fantasies are rarely about physical violence. More often, they involve public acknowledgement of the truth, apologies, or simply witnessing the eventual downfall of those who have harmed us. Although they may seem petty or ignoble, these imaginings serve a psychological function. They help us process feelings of powerlessness and injustice, offering a form of emotional resolution, even when real resolution remains impossible. Interestingly, not all imaginary situations are pleasant. Many people also find themselves visualizing catastrophic scenarios. They imagine car accidents in graphic detail, terminal illnesses, the death of loved ones, losing their jobs in humiliating ways, relationships ending in betrayal and suffering. This tendency towards negative imagination, while distressing, also serves adaptive purposes. By mentally simulating possible disasters, our